transferred to one of the public universities of Illinois, earned my bachelor's, worked for a couple of years, applied for a teaching assistant position in another state school in Illinois, and got my graduate school paid for. So again, I'm a great role model if your son or daughter, again, needs that occasional kick in the you-know-what. I also want to share with you that I am a parent in addition to an administrator. My son is a senior. And you would think for somebody that's been doing this for 20 years that I'd have this down cold. Nope, he's driving me nuts. And I'm finding the college search process probably as stressful as you are or you will. Getting him to stay focused and to think about things and push him without pushing him too much is proving to be a challenge. So I'm here as both an administrator and as a parent. So I feel the pain that you all are about to go through. So best of luck on that. But I do have some helpful tips here. And the gist of my presentation is what are the things that you and your son or daughter should be considering as you navigate through this thing called the college search. What seems to be a rather simplistic process can be incredibly convoluted. And hopefully some of the things I share with you will be helpful. I will admit up front, most of the stuff that I have here is not what I would call overly profound. A lot of it are things that you have thought of or could easily think of on your own, but it might add a little clarity and add some emphasis to certain things to explore as you continue along this path here. First thing I like to add, you have a lot of choices. Anybody know how many colleges and universities there are in the United States alone?
1,500?
That is not correct. How about this? 4,706. 4-year public and private universities, 2-year public and private colleges and universities, and for-profit institutions. You have almost 5,000 higher education institutions to choose from. We're talking about going from 5,000 to 1, and not just one, the one. So let's say you're going to force your son or daughter to stay within the confines of the state of Illinois. How many options there? Anyone? 311. Okay? So just in the state of Illinois alone, there's 311 options. All right, so that's better news, right? If you are going to stay within the friendly confines of Illinois, you went from 5,000 to roughly 300. All right, so we're on our way here. To give you a sense for the diversity, the drastic diversity, if you will, in terms of some of the options just within the state of Illinois. Anyone know the largest, by student body size, largest school in the state of Illinois? U of I. How many students?
30,000.
They have 47,000 students, okay? That's full-time and part-time, enrolled at the University of Illinois, okay? The smallest schools, there are numerous schools of this size, have less than 25 students. So again, a lot of options, drastic differences among those options. So again, hopefully what we're doing tonight is clarifying how do you pick from this drastic list of options. Okay? Fit. Probably sound like a broken record tonight. It's all about fit, and this is something I hammer home with my own son. As an employee of Lewis University, one of the nice benefits I get is I get free tuition at Lewis. In addition, there are a list of colleges where he gets free tuition at those institutions as well, and some really good schools. But there's a number of schools on the list that we've scratched off. Schools that might have better name recognition, schools that might have a little better cachet in the community, but I know that they're not a good fit for my son, that his personality does not mesh with the personality of that student body. And that's really what I'm hoping to talk about tonight is fit. This is the most difficult task. How do you find a school that has a personality that best meets and matches the personality of your son or daughter, and also do this within the confines of affordability, right? And Frank Palmisani, who's going to follow me up later, he'll talk more specifically about the financial aid process. All right. So So this is a presentation I often give at Lewis, and so this is obviously geared to students, but it's relevant to the parents. So right away, I ask students, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? I'm 45, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So they have time, okay? But the reason I ask this is should be driving their college search, right? Does your son or daughter, do they know what they want to study? I meet students all the time that have known since this tall, I want to be a pilot. I want to be a teacher, okay? I want to be a police officer. And if they're dead set on that decision and they know there is no chance of changing, that should be driving their college search. You need to ask or answer what I call the duh question. Well, do the schools you're looking at, do they have those majors? Duh, right? But not only that, how good are they in those programs? So that's number one. But let's say Johnny or Susie changes their mind. Do the schools you're looking at, do they have a plan B? Right? So if they think, well, I've really wanted to be a pilot, but now all of a sudden I hear the kids at school talking about computer science or whatever the case may be, and they're having second thoughts. Well, do the schools you're looking at, do they have your plan B or your plan C? Okay? Little side note here, undecided is often the most popular major for incoming freshmen at a lot of schools, especially liberal arts-based institutions. So it's absolutely acceptable to come in undecided. In fact, I'm personally and professionally a huge advocate for that. Most schools, they have a team of advisors that work with undecided students, and what they do is they'll assess the students. They're going to pick their brain. What are your likes? What are your dislikes? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And they're going to help guide them toward a path. At most institutions, a student doesn't even have to declare a major until the end of their sophomore year. Okay? And the average college student changes his or her major 3 times. You've been warned. So when they come home for Christmas break, you go, hey, guess what? Now I'm a nursing major. And then at the end of the school year, guess what? Now I'm a criminal justice major. It happens. Okay? So this is the number one thing. What do you want to be when you grow up? These are some of the things you need to be thinking about. How far away do you want to be from mom and dad? Now again, going back to myself, if they had a college on Mars, I would have gone there to get away from mom and dad, right? And I'm sure many of you, your son or daughter is the same way. I can't get far enough away fast enough. But I'm going to be honest with you, and we see this every year in buckets. Those students that all of a sudden they start to think about, wow, I'm going to have to do my own laundry. Wow, mom's not going to be able to cook for me. There's some things I'm going to have to do on my own. They start to sing a new tune, and all of a sudden being 3.5, 4 hours away might sound a little too drastic. So one of the things that you want to kind of home in on is, what is the driving distance from home? What is comfortable for you? Okay? And that's a two-way street. What's comfortable for them to be away from you, and how comfortable are you being away? Do you want to be able to visit semi-often? Okay? And what about travel costs? Okay? If you're going to look at a school in California, as you look at costs and your eligibility for financial aid, are you working in travel expenses? That's going to be a pretty hefty travel expense, especially if you're going to make that trip a couple times a year. And does your student plan to live on campus? Okay? Living on campus gets more and more expensive every year. At Lewis, for example, we're pretty average. Living on campus costs about $10,000 a year. That's the room and board cost per year for a residential student. Have you worked that into your budget? Okay? And a lot of schools nowadays, I shouldn't say a lot of schools, this is semi-common among private institutions, they may require your son or daughter to live in the residence halls. So again, it's one of those things, a classic case of make sure you read the fine print. Are you a city mouse or country mouse? Now I need to change this question because most 17, 18-year-olds, they have no idea what I'm even talking about with this example. So this is proof of how old I am. So I got to come up with something a little bit more hip and clever here. But the point is, this goes back to the fit. What kind of personality is your student? Okay, are they going to thrive and really enjoy an urban college experience, or are they a little bit more, hey, that's a little bit too much hustle and bustle for me. I need something that's a little bit more suburban, or maybe in some instances even a little bit more rural. That is a better match for their personality. These are the things you want to explore. You know, what is the school's proximity to a major city? Does it offer nearby internship and job placement opportunities? And is it a safe environment? Now, one of the things I want to stress here, by the way, that third point about safe environment, if you're not aware, every college and university in the country has to report crime statistics on an annual basis. It's a law. And the Department of Education, they post all of those crime statistics on an annual basis. So if you want to look up any crime statistic category for any college or university in the United States, they're all on the Department of Education website. So of course, when you visit colleges, you can talk to folks like me and we can share our own statistics. But if you were to do a compare and contrast among various colleges, all of that stuff is mapped out on the Department of Education website. But to get back to the original point, city mouse or country mouse, the example I often use in my presentations is Lewis is a medium-sized Catholic university, okay? 30 miles away in Chicago is another Catholic university, two Catholic universities, DePaul and Loyola, both very good institutions. We're all in the Catholic family, but the personality of that campus life compared to ours, night and day. So again, you got to figure it out. Your son or daughter has to figure out what is a good match for me. By the way, this is where I'm going to do my plug to visit schools. How many parents have seniors here? A few? Juniors? Okay, so for the senior parents, how many of you are getting absolutely inundated with stuff in the mail? Yeah, junior parents, you've been warned. It's gonna happen. Colleges, we spend a lot of money to mail you guys a lot of stuff. We spend a lot of money to make our publications look awesome, and we spend a lot of money to make sure that our website looks awesome. Why am I sharing this? Because the information you're going to get in the mail, they all look good, right? The websites that you're going to visit with your son or daughter, they all look good, right? So how do you distinguish among them? It's the college visit, okay? Make sure that you're setting aside time to visit those schools that your son or daughter is seriously, genuinely, and sincerely interested in. I've had numerous experiences. In fact, I've had this own experience with my son. You walk on campus, and within 10 minutes, you know, yeah, I see myself here. Or conversely, yeah, this does not match up with their website, right? Okay? The college visit is crucial. Do you want to be a big fish in a small pond, or a small fish in a big pond? Now, we, collectively, parents, we understand the rationale for college. You need that piece of paper to help open doors, to open careers, start careers, get paychecks, so you can get them out of the house, right? I'm kidding. Not really, but yes. Okay? So we understand maybe the primary rationale for higher education. But for students, and I hope that everyone here is an advocate for this as well, the college is more than a degree. It's more than attending class. There's a range of activities that give you that full college experience. But depending on what kind of school you choose, that may either open more doors or close doors, depending on what your son or daughter wants to do. Okay? One of the things I always focus on is what's a good fit of a teaching style for your son or daughter. I'm going to give you an example. I did my undergraduate at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. I had a great experience there. I had a class about this size with literally every seat filled. I remember within the first week of class, I literally bumped into my professor in the hallway afterward. He had no idea who I was. No idea. He didn't know if I was in his class. I was just some random student. He had no clue. Okay? I was okay with that. At the time, it didn't really bother me. But for other students, that's an issue. Okay? That is not the type of learning environment they will thrive in. So, what's the school student-faculty ratio? Okay? How many classes are taught by teaching assistants? These are graduate students teaching undergraduate courses. Okay? Sometimes there's a lack of experience. There's a lack of gained knowledge that they can impart on your students. And what is the average class size? Okay? At a large state university in Illinois, most of your large state universities, your sons and daughters will have multiple classes with 100 plus people in them. That's guaranteed. It's just part of the package, okay? At many private, smaller institutions, those classes are typically a little bit smaller, okay? Some students are okay in that environment. Where will your son or daughter fit in that scheme, okay? I see students all the time, I don't know the exact number, but we get transfers by the truckload every year of students who started at the larger state schools and they faltered. They absolutely faltered because of the distance between professor and student. They needed a little bit more hand-holding, they needed a little bit more personal attention, okay? So again, that's something you want to think about in the mix here as you continue to explore colleges. And these 2 points, in my opinion, kind of dovetail. What does your son or daughter want to do outside of the classroom? Okay? You know, do they want to work on the campus radio station? Right? Do they want to join a club sports team or an academic club team? Do they want to study abroad? Are these important elements in their college search? And if they are, when you're visiting schools, when you're talking to folks like me, you know, how many of these opportunities exist and when do they exist? When can the student take advantage of these opportunities? Okay? This is a question I urge families to ask all the time. Well, how many clubs and organizations are there? And if you know your son or daughter wants to join something specific, ask the question, do they have it? Secondly, can I participate in that club that is not connected to my major? And this, I think, is a great question. We see students all the time that maybe here at Lemont, they wrote for the yearbook, or they wrote for the school newspaper, or they were involved in debate or theater, or whatever the case may be. And they're now going off to college, and they want to study biology, or they want to study nursing or athletic training, something completely unrelated. But they love that activity so much, they don't want to give it up. Well, at some schools, that's not a problem. You can be a biology major and still audition for any of the major roles in theater. Not a problem. You can be a criminal justice major and still write for the school newspaper. You don't have to be a journalism major. Not a problem. At other schools, it's directly connected to your major. If you're not a journalism major, you ain't writing for the school newspaper. If you're not a mass communication major, you're not going to be working in the radio station. So again, you need to ask yourself, and have that conversation with your student, you know, how valuable is this? How much of the college search equation does this play a role in? And ask the schools when you're visiting, can I do it? And can I do it as early as my freshman year? Okay? These are important questions. By the way, a true story. A couple years ago, I was out walking on campus, and there was about a handful of students out there, and they were dressed up in what looked like medieval garb, and they were sword fighting. And I thought, I need to get campus police on the horn. What is going on here? Well, I found out that was Lewis University's newly sanctioned Belagarth Club. This is a legitimate organization of students that practice medieval archery and sword fighting. I am not making this up, folks. This is a true story. And the reason for this, as you explore colleges, each school has their own policy. At Lewis, for example, if there are 6 like-minded students, you can go to our student development office, you sign a petition, and you are now an officially fully recognized and sanctioned club and organization on campus. Just for the past 10 years, in addition to Belagarth, we've started a men's lacrosse club team, women's lacrosse club team, an ultimate frisbee team, a men's rugby team, and a water polo. One of our student ambassadors has started a water polo team. That's all within the past 10 years. You need 6 people to say, yeah, that sounds cool, sign me up. That's it. So as you're exploring these schools, if you don't see a club or organization that fits their liking, ask, what's the likelihood that we can start this up? Okay? Some of the other things that are often asked, and for many families it's an important part of their searches, what about study abroad? Okay? Does that exist? Where? I meet with a lot of students that are dead set on, before I finish college, I want to spend a semester in Spain, in Rome, in London, whatever the case may be. Well, does the institution have opportunities there? And how long? Are these semester systems? Or are these summer programs that are offered for a week, 2 weeks, something along those lines? And for some majors, it's incredibly difficult to work in a study abroad opportunity into the curriculum. Great example is nursing. That's a program that is so incredibly rigorous and the curriculum is so incredibly rigid, there's not a lot of what I call wiggle room to work something like that in. So what many of our nursing students do, they know they can't spend a semester overseas. So we offer a 2-week program specifically for nursing students in Rome every year. And for most of those students, that kind of satisfies their study abroad pangs, if you will. So these are questions I encourage you to ask. And then, of course, are there fraternities? Are there sororities? And there's a wide variety there. We're all familiar with the whole Animal House setting and things like that. And some schools have the fraternities and sororities, and they have the stately mansions and everything that we stereotypical define as the Greek system. Other schools might have nationally recognized fraternity sororities, but they don't have a Greek row, per se. The students live among all the other students. Lewis is an example of that, and actually it's probably more common than you think. So that's another question. Does your son or daughter want to explore the Greek system, and what kind of Greek system do these institutions have? All right, so got some new stuff I want to share. You may have been reading in the news recently about President Obama and the federal scorecard. Do I see any nodding heads? Anybody with me on this? I could probably talk for about another hour on this alone, but I really just want to kind of touch upon it and bring it to light. What I think is helpful about the scorecard, there's still some kinks they have to work out, but in short, what it's designed to do is to give students and parents a better measuring stick of apples to apples. In other words, how can you better compare school X, school Y, and school Z on a level playing field? So one of the things that the government is deciding to do that I find, I think, helpful as a parent myself, will be on the scorecard, not only can you get the regular data that you get from a school's website, what's the student body size, what's the academic profile, things like that, but they now track what's your graduation rate, 6-year graduation rate, and they post it front and center. How many of your graduates have a full-time job within 6 months of graduating? That's posted on there. What is your institution's average loan indebtedness? In other words, a Lewis graduate walks away with how much loan debt on average? You can compare that for each institution. This information is now tracked and sort of brought together in a hub. And again, I think we're going to see that this is a work in progress and there's going to be some changes over the next couple of years. But what's nice is this is a great starting point. If you're like, hey, I don't know how to compare these two schools, where do they rate on certain things? The scorecard is the place to go. And as soon as I'm done with that presentation, I'll very quickly pull up the website so that you can see it. All right, very quickly, I want to breeze through these. I see Frank has joined us in the break. Frank Palmasani in the back will do the financial aid presentation. Frank does an awesome job. You'll walk away incredibly knowledgeable about our federal financial aid system. But I want to give him more time, but I do want to touch upon something. There was a study done a few years ago by an organization called Hardwick Day. They specialize in higher education research. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to find out, is there any valid difference between a degree earned at a private university versus a degree earned at a public? And I want to fess up right away. I'm a 2-time public university graduate. My bachelor's degree is from Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. My master's degree is from Northern Illinois University, DeKalb. Had a great experience, and there are things that I've learned from my experience there that I continue to use today. But I think this is insightful to help you with a few things that you may not have otherwise known. So they broke this down into categories. So for example, this first one is academics. As you'll see on the chart, this research, what they did is they called over 1,000 people throughout the country, public university and college graduates, private university and college graduates, and they asked them the same series of questions. How many of you had classes with fewer than 20 students? You'll see among private college graduates, 70% of them. At public universities, only 16% had a class with fewer than 20 students. How many of you had classes where the majority of them were taught by professors? Again, 89% versus 44%. By the way, this report is available. It's all online. It's about a bajillion pages long, and I'm not going to bore you with all of them. So I tried to pluck what I thought are the most crucial. You know, campus life, like I addressed a little while ago, it's beyond the piece of paper. It's about the overall college experience. You know, did you feel that you attended a safe campus environment? 67% to 43%. That means less than half of the people they polled that went to a public university felt that they attended a college that was in a safe environment. Was there a sense of community among students? 82% to 63%. And then the last, second to last category is post-graduation. You know, how many of you consider yourself better prepared than students from other colleges? Those that attended the private said 55% felt better prepared versus 36% at the publics. And how many of you were completely satisfied with your quality of education received? 61% to 41%. The last category I'm going to talk about is cost. How many of you received a scholarship or grant to attend college? 73% at a private school versus 53% at a public. And how many of you, and I know this is always, this is probably one of the top 3 questions I get from parents all the time. What's the likelihood that my son or daughter can graduate in 4 years? At private institutions, it's roughly 79% versus 50% at public universities. That is a very quick and dirty college search kind of approach. I do want to make myself available for any questions. Without stealing any of Frank's thunder in his presentation, I will conclude by saying this. When I do this presentation, I have another slide, I have another couple slides that I took out, and they deal with financial aid and affordability. And I took them out because I knew Frank was going to address that tonight. But I intentionally always address that last with families, and here's why. Everything else that we just went through, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? How far away do you want to be from mom and dad? You know, what's important to you? You want to be a big fish in a small pond, those kinds of things. That's going to steer you towards a much smaller list of schools that are the best fit for your son or daughter. Once you've narrowed that down, that's when you want to start to engage in that financial aid question. I strongly discourage you from discounting schools right away because of that sticker price. Because at many schools, especially in the private sector, you know, you may not pay anywhere near that sticker price. So make sure that costs, and I understand it as a parent myself, that is certainly part of the overall college search, and it's part of that final decision making. Trust me, we get it. But make sure that that's not driving the bus. Okay? The answers to the questions about what's a good fit for my son or daughter, that's first and foremost. Then let's worry about this affordability factor. Because in the end, for many families, we understand, you may elect to go to the community college for a year or two and then transfer somewhere. And a lot of times that's due to affordability or lack thereof. So, yeah, I know we had somebody had their hand up back here. Yes, right there.
Could you show the name of that study again that you just
Hardwick Day, and it was done for the National Catholic College Admissions Association. I think the Hardwick Day name might be cut off at the bottom. Let me see. Whoop, I got carried away. Yeah, research by Hardwick Day. That's the name of the firm.
Thank you.
Yep. In the back.
Yeah, so those statistics are really interesting, and one of the things that was most interesting was the 4-year graduation rate, because when you start to compare costs, it's 5 or 6 years that negates it. But any statistics that you know of, and I can look at the survey, but I'm just curious if you know about job placement or salary of private versus public.
That's the question. So this is the website by the Department of Education for the federal scorecard that I mentioned. Or I can see it, but you can't. That's because I have to do this. Bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves. I might need tech support here. He was helping me earlier. But those are great questions, and that's a great example of the kinds of questions that the government is hoping to make available through the scorecard. You know, what is the average starting salary? Things like that. Thank you. Okay. So just to give you a quick, sense here. Here, I'll pick.